The following is a presentation of the NABL.
Welcome to tonight's game. This one's going to be good. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
We're underway here in Dallas, Texas. LaShawn Murphy right up.
Here he goes.
He rolls it in.
You know what game is? That's when you play.
He's going to take it all the way. Oh, my goodness gracious.
And it's going to be out of bounds. Go! Great save.
Oh, my goodness.
We feel like we can go out and dominate.
Lands it home and closes it out with authority.
That's game. That's game.
Welcome. That is NABL basketball. Season 2 of the North American Basketball League is here. It has been here, and it's already proving to be even more intense and exciting than the inaugural year of the NABL. And you are here with me on the show that covers it all for the NABL. Welcome to the BackCourt, the official show of the NABL. My name is Ken Buckner, and once again, as last season, I will be your host. And yes, in our second season of the BackCourt, well, if you noticed anything different, you can see me. Yes, and I can see you. No, that's not true. You can see me, though. Yes, the BackCourt now gone completely HD, all visual, all in your face. So where we were a radio show last year, now, well, it's good to see you, or be seen, as I could say. And that's the least of the changes that have happened in this first stretch of the NABL in 2017. And you talk about after an offseason that was explosive, including 9 new NABL expansion teams, a brand new conference, the introduction of NABL TV, and we'll get more on that coming up. And news that the next NABL champion will be crowned in Atlanta this year in the NABL Championship Series. Woo! I mean, the season kicked off April 1st, and it has not slowed down on the court or off. The NABL now stretches from coast to coast and now across 2 countries. Yes, we're in America and Canada now. It truly makes the NABL minor league basketball's biggest stage. And the most exciting, well, we've seen favorites fall this season already in the first 4 weeks. Perfection continued and upsets aplenty. And oh no, those new expansion teams, well, more than just a few of them have jumped out of the gate to stake their claim already as conference powers, and not just new kids on the block. So let's dive into it, shall we? On this week here on the BackCourt, in the week that was, it's time for our NABL recap.
Rewind, review, yep.
Week number 4 of the NABL season had 5 key matchups in 2 of the 3 NABL conferences. Yes, the West Coast Conference was idle this past week. And
hello.
No, idle. Not Adele.
It's
idle.
Me.
Hi. Hello from the other side. Let's do this. Let's start in the Eastern Conference in a hotbed of activity in an undefeated matchup between 2 undefeated teams from the East, North, and South Division. We're talking about Atlanta and Birmingham, and the Atlanta show has never experienced the agony of defeat. Never. Not once since their inception last season in the NABL. How about that for something awesome? The defending NABL champions have blazed through the competition all through 2016 with wins over Music City this year and a tough one a couple of weeks ago against the Huntsville Force. Now, the show took to the road to take on their toughest opponent yet in week number 4, the equally undefeated Birmingham Vulcans, who at 3-0 have never tasted defeat either. And let's stop there because as one of the new NABL expansion teams, I mean, hey, we've all seen what it's like to be an expansion team in any sport, how it takes seasons, years for some to even get an actual win, let alone have a winning season. And let alone reel off 3 in a row like the Vulcans have. But Birmingham has proved to be a power early in 2017. And yeah, we knew this matchup, Atlanta and Birmingham, was going to be a good one. We just didn't know it was going to be this good. With all of the league basically keeping an eye on this one last Saturday, and with perfection on the line to remain the top team in the NABL East, well, it doesn't get much closer than a 1-possession victory. 1 bucket decided this whole thing. And the Atlanta show came out with the decision, leaving Bama and heading back home with the win. They keep their streak alive with that 119-117 victory over the Vulcans. So for the full story on this, let's head to the source, to Hotlanta and the show's head coach, 2016 NABL Coach of the Year, David Kessler, here with us on the backcourt. Well, first off, welcome, Coach, back to the backcourt here, and welcome. We can see you now. How about that for this year?
Hi, glad to be here, Ken. Thanks.
Well, first of all, congrats on keeping the streak alive for the Atlanta show. But this time, I mean, perfection came right down to the wire on this one. First of all, tell us about last week's 119-117 win over the Birmingham Vulcans.
Yeah, it was a heck of a ball game. We led from start to finish, and we were up, 10-12 most of the way. I think our biggest lead was about 18-20, and then all of a sudden in the last 6 minutes of the game, we had some uncharacteristic turnovers, and they took advantage of them and climbed back in it, and it went right down to the wire. Of course, we were hold on by two.
Of course, the show returning champions from 2016 last year, but Birmingham is an expansion team. So far this season, they have not played like an expansion team, as is the case with many of the new additions in the NABL.
Oh, correct. And I'm, very familiar with the Birmingham area, and there's a heck of a lot of basketball talent, right there in that area. So that was no surprise that they were a good ball club.
Well, the great news is the perfection and the streak is still alive. I mean, the Atlanta show has not tasted defeat so far in franchise history. Many of the same stars came back from last season, but tell us how this year's squad is different from the championship team from last year.
Well, we picked up about 5 or 6 new guys, and we feel like that's just made us even stronger and deeper, possible. But we've had 2 or 3 of those new guys that have really stepped up, and made big contributions.
And let's talk about Bernard Parks, who is this week's one of the players of the week for week 4. He was also in week 2, 46 points in this outing against Birmingham, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals. He was the NABL Finals MVP last season, MVP for the season runner-up. He seems to have stepped his game up even more this year.
He has, and again, that's no surprise because Paul works at the game, and he is a heck of a player, and he doesn't get satisfied. He wants to improve every day, and he just continues to get better and better, and we're glad to have him, that's for sure.
Yeah, it seems just with the addition of the new teams, but even the existing charter teams from last year, the level of competition in the second season of the NABL has certainly stepped up its game.
No question. A lot of good teams. Southern Illinois, Birmingham, obviously. Huntsville has a nice ball club. And we haven't seen Capital City out of Raleigh yet, but North Carolina basketball.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump ahead a little bit. I mean, you have a bye week coming up, but then you have the back-to-back, a Saturday-Sunday doubleheader that luckily for you will be at home in Hotlanta. Now, that Saturday you'll face your in-state rivals and good old friends from down the road, the Savannah Cavaliers, who are in desperate need of a win at 0-3. And I know as a coach, when you face and run into a desperate team, sometimes that's the most dangerous opponent you can face.
Absolutely. We can't take them light, and we won't take them light.
Well, Coach, it's great to see you here on the backcourt this year, and as we've gone all HD and video and everything like that, I don't know if it's so great for everybody to be able to see me, but it's great to see you here on the backcourt, Coach Kessler.
It's great to see you, and glad to be back with you and enjoying another season.
So the show stays perfect. And let's stay here on the backcourt in the NABL East as we move on to the next games, as the expansion Capital City Cardinals traveled to the Panama City Piranhas. Now, the Piranhas, they're coming off their first ever franchise win last week when they beat the Savannah Cavaliers, and they hope to obviously keep their teeth sharp. See what I did there? Against a very powerful Capital City team that had only one L in their record. So even though it was a 4-state road trip for the Cardinals, they had a happy return trip back to Raleigh, North Carolina, as the Cards take down the Piranhas 114-104. And speaking of those Savannah Cavaliers, a Final Four team last year in the NABL, well, 2017 has not necessarily went the way of the Cavs. After a 4-point loss to Capital City, followed by a 4-point loss to Panama City, not only were the Cavs pretty much ready to play anybody on the schedule that didn't have the word city in their name, but they needed a win badly. But they had to go on the road to Huntsville, Alabama, and they knew that was going to be a daunting task. And even though there is no city in the name Huntsville, there is a ville in it. So ville, by the way, is French for city, I think. Sure. Hey, we are all about educating here on the backcourt. Yes. The Huntsville Force, who had every reason to feel good about this one, did. Got back to 500 on their record with a 126-100 drubbing of the Cavaliers. Let's go to the West. Well, after a week 3 that saw upsets aplenty in the NABL Western Conference, including, the Lions falling to a rising Miss Lou Warriors team, and the big one that we're still talking about, the Alamo City Aztecs defeating the Dallas Hoyas. Something had to give and clear up that 4-team logjam that's at the top of the NABL West. So first, we go to the high-powered DFW United. You talk about a team firing on all cylinders right now. They were 2-1 going into this one after wins over the Warriors and the Texas Wolverines, and they looked to take down the visiting Austin Knights. Now, the Knights traveled without the services of this one, and this was big, of 2 of their best players. Forward Anthony Coleman couldn't make the trip. Forward Damon Grismore did make the trip, but it was a game-time decision, ultimately scratched, did not play, out with a hand injury. And I guess really 3 players were out for the Knights, because Brandon Thompson, who scored and set an NABL record 68 points 2 weeks ago in the loss that the Knights suffered to the Miss Lou Warriors. Well, Brandon Thompson was signed to an international contract and is currently now playing, and by the way, tearing it up in El Salvador. So that's great news for Brandon Thompson and another huge NABL player success story. But not so good news for the Austin Knights and head coach Tommy Hayden. And in this matchup against the United, it was all DFW. DFW jumped out early. It did get close a little bit. In fact, going into the second quarter at the start of the second period, the Knights did have a narrow lead, but that pretty much evaporated rather quickly. And then United just surged to the top of the NABL West power rankings and standings and lead the conference after a 153-123 win over the Austin Knights. 153 points! I mean, just 2 points more, and they would have tied the NABL team scoring record in a game of 155, and that was set by San Antonio Lions in week number 1 in their win over Alamo City. Hey, but you know, a win's a win. Next to that team of San Antonio, the other one at least, the Alamo City Aztecs. Now, the Aztecs, they were fresh off that 113-107 week 3 upset of Dallas and the Hoyas, and they hope to obviously keep that mojo going on the road against the Texas Wolverines. Now, Texas, who just got slaughtered by DFW 2 weeks ago, hoped that some home cooking was going to help their remedy on their home court in Houston, and that would cure what ails the Wolverines. But alas, no. The Aztecs expansion team, and clicking now, folks, moved to 2-1 on the season and good enough for second in the Western Conference with a 125-108 win over the Wolverines. And as we said, the West Coast Conference was idle.
Hello.
Please stop that. Please.
It's
So
me.
that wraps up our NABL Week 4 review. Now it is time for the standout performers from this past week. Well, let's go back to that big old win for the Atlanta show for this one. And for the second time already this season, our first of two NABL Players of the Week for week number 4 is, tell me if you've heard this before, point guard for the Atlanta show, Bernard Parks. And so happy to welcome you, Bernard, here on the backcourt once again for 2017. And, man, you talk about a huge game, Bernard. Congrats on being NABL Week 4 Player of the Week.
Hey, good to see you, King. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about this. I mean, 46 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals. Not a bad stat line. And, boy, in that 119-117 win over the Birmingham Vulcans, I mean, you and your team, the show needed every one of those 46 points that you dropped down and more. Tell us, first of all, about that huge game.
Hey, man, it was a good game. Like, man, I had a talk with my teammates before the game, and on the way down there, like, you know, I've been looking at them. I seen they've been, you know, winning, you know, games by 20 or more points. So, you know, I told them we can't go in there like we just a big dog because everybody is after us. So we got to treat every game like it's the championship game and take them one at a time and go in there and handle business. But it was a dog fight. It was a good game, but you know, we managed to come out on top, just fighting hard, executing the, you know, plays that we needed to, and you know, my team had faith in me to bring it home, so that's what I did.
Well, let's talk about your team as well, too, because you reloaded even after the championship. Team won it all last year in 2016. Now, going into 2017, some new players. Tell us about the new chemistry, the new dynamic within the show.
Yeah, we added some nice pieces, more ball handling, some better shooters. Even though we lost Mario Black, we picked up in that area, but it's coming along. Everybody is gelling quick. They're falling into the trend that we're trying to, you know, execute and what Coach Kessler and Coach Rocket is, you know, teaching. So everybody is gelling. You know, they loving the, you know, atmosphere that we have, the energy that we bring. And we just, you know, pushing day by day, game by game.
So you were also, as I said, our week 2 player of the week. In that week in game, you had 48 points. In this one, you had 46. So I got to know, why are you suddenly slacking off or something now? Because it wasn't as many points? Or
Nah, I mean, I'm playing my game. Whatever comes to me, hey, that's what happened. So I'm stepping on the floor, giving it my all. My teammates giving it my all. But, you know, some of them shots that, you know, I miss, I need to make, or I'm getting trapped. So my teammates are open. So they're knocking it down for me. But whatever, you know, I feel that night, I'm going out there to give my all, well, you know, 110%. So
your shooting percentage is extremely high too, so it's not like you're just lofting up 100 shots in a game and, you know, hitting just like 40% of them. Now, Bernard, as we talked about the new dynamic of the team, same results, still have not tasted defeat as a franchise for the Atlanta show. Let's skip ahead just a little bit. Now, you're off this weekend, but in 2 weeks, coming to town, you got a doubleheader, a Saturday-Sunday game. That Saturday, it's certainly a familiar opponent in the form of your in-state rivals, the Savannah Cavaliers. What do you got to do against the Cavs to keep things going? Because you hate to use a cliche like this, but when two rival teams get together, throw out the records. I mean, it really was that way last year between the Cavs and the show.
Right, yeah. I'm going to go in it just like, you know, every game. I'm going to go in there with my speech as the leader of the Atlanta show, talk to my teammates, let them know. They know I'm going to bring it. So, you know, it's not going to be a cakewalk. I'm not going to go in there like they just going to lay down to us because I know Savannah's going to put up a fight. Every time we played them last year, they put up a fight. So I'm going to go in there. We're going to put our foot on the gas all 4 quarters. At the end, when the fat lady sang, we supposed to be the, you know, big dog on top with another win.
I tell you, Bernard, before I start doing the backcourt every single week, I want to talk to you, and you can give me that speech to fire me up to do this show. That's really what I need.
I got you, Ken.
Very good, man. Hey, congratulations. Already in week 4, 2-time NABL Player of the Week in 2017, and much continued success down the road. I know we'll have you here back on the backcourt soon.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And every week in 2017, yes, we will have 2 NABL Players of the Week. Well, actually, I say that, but last week we had 3. So, a lot of standout superstar performances in the NABL second season. So let's go to our second NABL Player of the Week for week number 4. He is fresh off another huge 30-point victory for that surging DFW United. Our second NABL Player of the Week, forward for the DFW United, Jason Smith. We welcome you, my friend, to the backcourt here on the NABL Network.
I appreciate it. This glorified God give me the talent to play basketball, and my teammates, my coach, and Gerard, the player / owner, just gave me the confidence and encouragement just to go out there and play. So I couldn't have this award, a B Player of the Week, without them. So it's a lot that they do for me to get me going before the game. So I give credit to my teammates.
Yeah, and 32 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, as we've said, for the Week 4 Player of the Week. The United right now, talk about your team. I mean, you guys seem to be on a tear. Even that one loss that you suffered came by only a single bucket there in overtime, and it nearly went into a double overtime against the Hoyas. You guys have a depth and athleticism, yet you still seem to be a little underappreciated by the rest of the league right now. So, are you playing with a chip on your shoulder? Because I could see you in warm-ups.
Yeah, we're playing with a chip on our shoulder. A lot of people don't think we are talented because it's our second year, and I know we got some new faces, but we just use that as motivation. Yeah. We use that as motivation we just want to go shot the league, and we have something to prove. So we want to use that chip as motivation to just surprise teams that don't think we're a talented team.
To say the least, because 2 back-to-back weeks of 30-point wins, for crying out loud. I mean, what do you feel there was a turning point in, before the season started? Or, I mean, you started out with the big win on the road in eastern Louisiana against the Miss Lou Warriors, and that was a close one. Then you had another close one, and the last 2 haven't been even remotely close. So, is it just you guys are coming together more and more as the season goes on, or talk about your team and your teammates?
Oh, all-season training. Kim Green, military. She made us do a lot of all-season stuff, so it wasn't just physically, it was mentally as well. So she basically kicked our butts, and a good coach. And it's a lot on her, too, for only being a female coach in the league as well. So she has something to prove, too. So we just want to be behind her and encourage her, because that's a lot to be a woman first as a coach in this league. So all season did a lot for us, and as we just continue to roll through trials and tribulations, through the hard practice and adversity during the games, we feel like we got robbed out of that Hoyas game, but hey, can't cry over spilled milk. We got to look forward, and it's a long season.
Well, the good news is you'll face the Hoyas again in the rematch, and if it's anything like last season, you'll find them again in the playoffs. But right now, the United at the top of the Western Conference at 3-1 sole possession. Well, congratulations again with that 32-point performance there against the Austin Knights. Always a tough opponent, certainly when they come into your barn. But Jason Smith, one of our NABL Week 4 Players of the Week. Congratulations, man. Appreciate you being here on the backcourt, and I know we'll see you down the road here on the show.
All right. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, there you go, our Players of the Week. Now, let's see where all the teams, all the franchises stand here in week number 5.
NABL Standings Update.
Heading into week number 5, this is how things are sitting in the NABL Eastern Conference. Let's go to the North Division. The Southern Illinois Pharaohs are basically on a mission at 3-0 on the season, but they have 2 big games this weekend, and we'll get to that coming up. But right on their heels in the Eastern Conference Northern Division, the Birmingham Vulcans sit at 3-1. The Huntsville Force are at 500, and the Music City Kings 0-4 in 2017. They play twice this upcoming weekend, and we pray for you, Music City. We really do. The NABL's Eastern Southern Division goes the way of who else? The Atlanta Show at 3-0, followed by the Capital City Cardinals at 3-1, and that could very well change by this time next week because those two face each other coming up 2 Sundays from now. The Piranhas sit at 1-2, and the Savannah Cavaliers are winless, surprisingly, at 0-3. The West Coast Conference shapes up like this as a hot one that is happening up there in the Great White North, eh? The Kitsap Admirals, they are currently riding high, undefeated at 2-0, and they are followed by the NABL's Canadian club, the SB Battle at 1-1. The Thunder of Tacoma and the Flames of Quad City, they both round things out in the West Coast Conference at a record of 1-2 apiece. Now to the quagmire that is the NABL Western Conference. Whew, the logjam lifted a little bit, but I'm sure that's going to be disrupted by this weekend. The DFW United's hot streak just has them leading the West at this point at 3-1, and they are followed by the 2-1 club. Everybody jump in right now with that record, shall we? We're talking the Alamo City Aztecs. They sit at 2-1 in second place in the West, and they own that tiebreaker at this point over the likewise 2-1 Dallas Hoyas, who play twice this weekend. Then you have the Warriors and the San Antonio Lions. Now, the Austin Knights, they sit in 6th place, and they are in 0-2 right now. And then there is finally the winless 0-4 Texas Wolverines. Now, it is time for all that to be blown apart as this weekend comes our way in the NABL.
NABL Week Preview.
A ton of NABL action this week for you to watch. See it as it happens live, of course, all streaming at NABLbasketball.com. And there we stream every NABL game, no matter where you are, no matter where the game is happening. So you can see and cheer for your favorite team in action, even if they're long away, far away on the road. Now, before we get to the big non-conference action, and it's quite a weekend, actually an event weekend in the NABL, let's look towards first the in-conference games in the East Conference. As the Huntsville Force travel on their longest road trip of 2017 in this season to Raleigh, North Carolina, where they meet up with the Capital City Cardinals. Now, the only Achilles heel so far for the Cards this year has been when they were away from their own nest, so to speak. Thank you. So the Force will have to be strong, young Obi-Wan. Likewise, another Alabama team that will head to parts unknown as the Birmingham Vulcans hope to get their winning ways back going against the Savannah Cavaliers. And the Cavs, well, they just hope to get their winning ways started in 2017. They have yet to win a game. They could have picked a better chance to do that, though, because the Vulcans, as we've said, quite stout. In the West Coast Conference, back in action this week, the SB Battle will cross the border and head south to face the 1-2 Quad City Flames. SB at 500 right now, and Quad City needs to get there because the favorite to win this conference, the Admirals, sits at 2-0. And something to know about this conference in the West Coast, though all 4 West Coast teams are new to the NABL this year, it's really an interesting dynamic. They all 4 have quite a bit of history with each other. The Thunder, the Battle, the Flames, the Admirals all have been at this for quite a while as franchises on the court, and there is no love lost in this conference that could easily be decided, well, all the way until the last week of the season. So that's something to watch in the West Coast. And turning our eyes to Week 5, it continues in the NABL West as the Alamo City Aztecs travel, though not very far, just across town, honestly, to face their rival, the San Antonio Lions. So, okay, now we've covered the in-conference games in the NABL this weekend, but in the heart of the United States of America, there is a huge weekend in store for the NABL Midwest Showcase. The 2017 NABL Midwest Showcase features 4 games. So if, hey, you're in Carbondale, Illinois, get your tickets now for 2 back-to-back days of doubleheader action. Start with Saturday. Game number 1 has the Music City Kings taking on the Indianapolis Diesel. And the headliner for Saturday is game number 2. The Dallas Hoyas travel north to face the red-hot Southern Illinois Pharaohs. Yeah, buddy. I mean, not only is it just cool when the Western and Eastern conferences face off, but the 2-1 Hoyas, they bring it to the 3-0 Pharaohs. Though not a big game as far as maybe the playoff standings will go because it's out of conference. This is huge. League-wide NABL bragging rights on the line in this contest. Now, day number 2, Sunday's action, has the Hoyas facing off for the very first time, even though they were both charter teams last year, the Music City Kings. Now, think about this. How crazy would it be if the Kings earned their first ever W in the NABL? Though I think they're going to do that actually on Saturday. But if they did it against the mighty Hoyas, I mean, that is going to be huge. We'll talk about that plenty next week. Regardless, we'll recap all of this action next week, so be here on the backcourt. Now, that is to be followed in game number 2 on Sunday by the Pharaohs taking on the Diesel. So again, if you are in the Southern Illinois, Carbondale, Illinois area, or heck, make the drive from St. Louis, which is not all that far away, buy your tickets now to be there for the 2017 NABL Midwest Showcase. You can find all the details, nablbasketball.com. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, this is where I so awesomely either look like a basketball prophet or just a ridiculous, well, me. Yeah, it's KB's picks. So let's start predicting some of these games. And we'll start with that Midwest Showcase we were just talking about. Game number 1 Saturday, I am taking the Music City Kings. Now, this is not the first time that I've picked the Kings to win a game, but so far they have not. But they will win their first ever game in franchise history. Mark my words, here on the backcourt. And they will do it Saturday in game number 1 of that doubleheader in the showcase over the Indianapolis Diesel. Yes, Music City, you will. It must be so. Then in the big one, Saturday night's Hoyas versus Pharaohs. Though my heart may reside with Dallas on this one, I think the expansion Pharaohs are going to take the win. Home court advantage is going to be huge for Southern Illinois in this one. The crowd's going to be on their side. That's the biggest road trip of the season for the Hoyas. So, luckily for Dallas, it wouldn't affect their Western Conference standings, but it would their overall standings. We'll see. It's going to be a good one. Almost too hard to pick, but I do have to go with the Pharaohs and the sandstorm that is Southern Illinois. Now to Sunday's showcase. The Hoyas taking on the Kings. I do pick Dallas to down Music City in that one. And the same as I picked the Pharaohs to later on that day beat the Diesel. Now, to the ones that matter in the interconference standings, the conference games. Here we go as Huntsville travels to Capital City to face the Cardinals, and the force will not be strong enough. Boy, that was a bad joke. They'll be better than that bad joke, but not good enough to take the Cardinals down in this one. I take Capital City to win over Huntsville to remain towards at the very top of the Eastern Conference standings. Now to Savannah, Georgia, where the Cavaliers desperately need that win. At 0-3, they will be, I hate to say it, all but done if they fall to the Birmingham Vulcans. And even though they'll be on their home court, I think they will. Yes, I counted out now Savannah several times last season, and I was proven wrong, I know. And they wound up in the NABL Final Four for crying out loud. But Birmingham just has come to play in this first year of their franchise. So give me the Vulcans as the logical pick. Get it? Okay. In the West Coast, I'm going to start with the SB battle, and I'm going to say right now that they will extinguish the Quad City Flames, and SB will move to a over 500 record on the year. And in the West, Alamo City is on a 2-game winning streak. How cool is that to say? As the Aztecs will face once again the San Antonio Lions, who were reeling, the Lions are, after last week's loss to the Miss Lou Warriors. Now that game was on the road for San Antonio. The Lions, and this dates back all the way to last season. On the road, it's a 50-50 proposition with the Lions. At home, San Antonio is simply lethal on their own court. And though I do think, and this is a matchup and a rematch, of week 1 in the NABL, where the Lions down the Aztecs 155 to 122. I think this one is going to be much closer than that week 1 drubbing. I still pick the same outcome to happen, as the Lions will take down the Aztecs. So, feel free to let me know what you think. That's just what I'm saying, man. Send all hate mail, if you will, or disagreements to the following: Ken Buckner at NABLbasketball.com, or you can do it just right here on the BackCourt page at NABLbasketball.com. Should be over just to, well, the right side of your screen. And as I get your messages, hey, I'll read some of them on the show here. So we love to hear from you. A big thanks to you for watching the BackCourt this week, our Week 4 edition, heading into week number 5. Remember to watch every single game live this Saturday and Sunday, right there streaming live for your own personal enjoyment on the online home of the North American Basketball League, NABLbasketball.com. That does it for this visual week of the BackCourt. I will catch you next time right here on the BackCourt. I'm Ken Buckner, live on the NABL Network.